Hello, everyone. Tere. I'm trying to learn Estonian, so please bear with me during this presentation. Thank you, first of all, very much for dedicating your busy agenda to come and to attend this session today. We're going to talk about how to build a modern, international, multifunctional B2B sales force. It sounds very complex, and a lot of content writers were texting to me saying it should be shorter, but we're going to make it very simple. So let's kick off. First of all, once again, hello, my name is Faris. Just a bit background about myself. I'm working in sales for 8 years as a business development manager and sales team leader. My previous experience is related to telecommunication, outsourcing companies, and at the moment, I'm head of sales at Boku, global worldwide payment company. I will just say that we provide more than 300 payment methods all around the world. So if you're interested into that, please, let's catch up later, but I will save your time, and this will not be a sales pitch, I promise. On the other side, I would like to say that I lived in 7 countries throughout my 32 years. So that's the reason why I'm so skinny, because it's very difficult to gain weight moving a lot around. However, I'm in Estonia for the past 2 years, and definitely this is one of the most unique experiences in my life. From many, many, many reasons, but I will cover that later. One more interesting fact about me is that I'm very passionate Toastmaster. For everyone who doesn't know, it's an international public speaking organization. So I should be able to deliver this presentation successfully, but I'm very open for your feedback as well after this presentation. At the moment, I'm also very excited to be part of the Startup Days and looking forward to discussing about this topic. But before I kick off, I would like to give you a little bit background about the team that I'm member of right now. At the moment, we are a team of 8 people. I'm leading the sales team, which is combined from business development managers and business development representatives. And they live from China till America, 8 of them. We are coming from 5 different countries, and we work in 3 to 4 time zones daily. Our merchants are all around the world. So the question is, how we are actually succeeding? To get to that topic, I was trying to understand how I can actually close this topic to many of you here, because I'm not sure if everyone is doing sales here. I'm sure you're coming from very different backgrounds. Well, I'm Master of Civil Engineering, which means that I shall be constructing this hall, but apparently I'm not doing that. I'm also a radio host for 10 years in my home country, but at the moment, I'm doing sales. And when I was facing myself in entering sales world, I was really, really challenging myself. How am I going to do that? But let me ask you a question. When was the first time you started cooking? Or to be more precise, have you ever made bread? Estonian people, please, apologies in advance. I'm not going to talk about, black or dark bread. I'm going to talk about white bread, which is more common for Bosnia. But it's actually a topic that I'm sure we all faced. Okay, how I'm going to do something? And bread is actually a great example for that. Because in order to succeed, welcome to our baking class. Let's start with chef. Charlie looks very handsome. He looks very confident. Apparently, he has mindset and skills to be here. Charlie also has a Michelin star. And these breads look so brilliantly nice. But how Charlie got there? Charlie asked himself, what does he need to succeed? First of all, ingredients. He definitely needs a baking practice. Dough is a very important part because it's actually what will make bread very good. Being aware, of course, of the temperature, where and how he's going to bake it. And at the end, he needs to be master of the baking process. But how are we going to phrase that in the sales world? First step, we need to have ingredients. In sales world, we need to have people. People will be the crucial part for any team, because without them, we are not able to achieve anything. By choosing people, we have to understand what kind of the skills that we are looking for. Maybe we need someone who speaks Chinese. Maybe we need someone who lives in Mexico. Maybe we need someone who has great experience in selling in Southeast Asia, because it's a really different mindset. Building successful and high-growth sales team starts definitely with the cultural emphasizing. So we need to understand how people that we are combining will actually work together. One really interesting stuff for me happened when I was hiring all people for my team, where I had purely Estonian-based team. And I was thinking, okay, but how are we going to now make international team, expanding to China and America? But then I realized one thing, that actually hiring people defines as a goal, but at the end, it is the most successful challenge in my life. And I will come to that later. The step number 2 is that we have to mix all of these ingredients, am I right? Because we have to start baking process. So once we have all of these great, unique performers all around the world, well, we would expect them to work together. But how are we going to make it? In our experience, it works very simply. We have Hauja in Beijing, and we have Kate in Estonia. Kate is our wallets expert for Southeast Asia. Hauja joined 3 months ago. Kate has very interesting communication with Chinese merchants, but we need Chinese support. Bringing Hauja and Kate on the call together helped us to overcome cultural difference, to show to the client how big we are, and at the end, Hauja had a lot of things to learn from our wallet expert, Kate. Which means mixing ingredients might be challenging, but if we mix them properly, it might be very successful. Step number 3, let bread rise. We have to agree on the ownership, what people actually are in charge of. And we actually realized in the early beginning that each one of us has a different skill. For example, I can talk a lot. For example, Jonas is really straightforward in terms of the handling objections. On the other side, Mauricio and his charismatic approach on the calls actually helped us to open many new doors. But in that sense, when people are aware of their skills, they need to combine themselves in certain pairs or even groups to help each other to learn from each other. So to be very honest, I'm actually learning every day, and I think that's the most amazing experience in my life in this position. But we also had to think about our baking process. So the dough needs to rest. I'm not sure how much you know about this whole process, but what does it mean in the sales perspective? 3 months ago, I had a unique challenge to hire a completely brand new business development representative team. Jonas, Anton, and Mauricio, 3 amazing young fellows, joined our company. But the challenge was, I have a business trip to Singapore after 2 years, meeting high-level merchants, and I also need to visit my mother in my home country. So they need to be onboarded. But on the other side, they also need to understand that in many cases, they will have to be very independent. What happened? I created with team members onboarding program for them. On the other side, we agreed that while I'm off, each one of us will cover a certain responsibility. It happened successfully, but then after the end of the onboarding program, I told them, look guys, I really love you, but I will take 1 week off from you, and let's see how much actually did you learn. After 5 days, we were very tempting to talk to each other, but it didn't happen. However, that was the period when the dough was actually resting. And actually, in the back end, rising as well. Let me give you another example. Kadri, very successful business development manager. Very, very thorough and detailed. However, very tough to sell her something, but she's very good in selling something. However, how do we work together? I understand that whenever Kadri has a challenge, I can maybe suggest what she can do. But then Kadri needs to take 1 hour or 1 day off, not talking to me, to digest what she actually wants to do. What does it mean in the practice? We are here to support people, but at the end of the day, they shall understand what is the best decision and step to make for their own business success. We need to actually give our teams everything that we can. We need to onboard them, and we have to go all in with the training. And I think this is actually the very big concern about a lot of leaders. We all think, oh, you're a sales team lead. You have no much work to do. But actually, to be very honest, in my case, it's not about just checking the numbers. I spend a lot of time talking to people and trying to understand how I can help them to cover certain challenge. I really put a lot of effort in coaching, which also means that I have to put a lot of effort in my own coaching. So what is my success criteria is that I wake up every day at 5 a.m., and I try to put myself in a position where I can improve myself, either go to the gym or learn some new lesson or maybe read some new book. Because when I came to the work at 9 a.m., I'm completely aware that I have to be mentally prepared to support people in my team. Coming back to the baking process, which is actually very related to what I'm talking about, because my 5 a.m. means that we are preheating oven for baking. In the meantime, the dough has to be shaped. which means that we have to understand where we are going, what is our aim, what is our goal. In that sense, in a sales world at least, it shall be very practical. We have KPIs, we have metrics, and I think the most important thing for any leader is to actually be very open in terms of communicating them to the team. What I really appreciate about my team members is they are very thorough in the questioning, and they like two things: numbers and money. So if they don't have numbers, they don't understand how much money they will earn. Well, if that works for them, I'm completely fine to come up with the expectations and to discuss how we can achieve together all of these desired numbers. And we even have agreement that once we reach our KPIs, we hope that we will be going to the Maldives for one very big vacation. We already prepared everything for baking, but we also have to start baking. And that's the most challenging part for any team lead, because you now need to let your people to perform. I'm not a parent, not either pet owner, but I always feel a bit, will they ever need me anymore? But actually, at the end, it's not about how much they need me. It's about how much actually we can learn from each other. And in that sense, what I really try to do is to really talk to people. For me as a leader, it's very important to understand that I have 7 people coming from 5 different countries, thinking in a completely different ways. And to be very honest, even though I come from Bosnia, I have no idea which culture I belong, because in these 7 countries, I'm also a bit lost. However, I need to understand what kind of the communication model works the best for each one of the team members. If you followed my story, you will remember that I said that Kadri is very thorough and detailed. So if I have to give her feedback, I cannot come just bluntly and say, you know, Kadri, that email from 5 days ago, it was like okay, but maybe this subject could be better. There has to be certain guidance how to give Kadri a feedback. On the other side, if I go to Jonas to tell him, hey, dude, you're a rocket star, he's like, okay. Which also sometimes triggers alerts, because we have to celebrate small wins. I'm not sure about you guys, but for example, in my opinion, I think that sales was never more challenging. Yes, COVID happened, and it changed everything. But the sales itself is different than it was before. No opportunities to have concrete meetings for 60 minutes where you can sit, meet, agree, and perform. We have everyday calls because it's more convenient. So the question is actually, when do we perform? Anyway, in that way, we have to celebrate small wins, because apparently sales cycles are longer. And that shall bring us to recognizing that we are achieving micro steps to get to the high goal. And to be very honest, one thing that I may be overdoing, but I'm also showing that I'm a human, because, you know, we are all just as simple people. And in that sense, even we have sometimes the bad days. So maybe sometimes I will say to my team members, look, maybe you should just cancel this meeting with me today. I don't feel maybe perfectly well to do it. It doesn't happen very often, but in that sense, I'm at least trying to say that if I'm not quality support, then I would rather postpone to be support. So these are all spices how we can make it happen. And yeah, the easiest is to say, let's just cool it and enjoy. But of course, it's not easy, but it's actually interesting. So if we consider what Charlie needed for success, let's also reflect on what actually he really needs. He needs skilled and motivated people. He needs a clear goal and KPIs. We need to understand where we are aiming to be. He needs a sales process. And that's not something that we can just set in the stone and never discuss about it anymore. It's changeable, it's live, and it's interesting, but it's also exhausting. Open feedback culture, I love it in Estonia. People will tell you straightforward how do they feel, and no matter how much it could be a bit hard to accept, I think this is really the key of success at the moment for us, because we listen to each other calls every week. One team member has to listen to call of his other team member. He or she needs to provide the feedback. We'll learn together how to provide the feedback, because saying, your call was okay, it's not a relevant feedback. We have to point out exactly what can be improved. Maybe a sentence in terms of the handling objection could be said different, and then you give an example how we can do it. Legacy of the team members. To be very honest, I would never say that it's my goal, or Kate's goal, or Jonas' success, or Mauricio's success, or Anton's success. It's actually our success, but each one of us has responsibility how to get there. And in that case, if you don't give legacy to people so they feel like they are creating something, most likely they will not feel that they are ready to grow, and in that sense, you also might lose good people. And to lose good people is actually really the feeling that hurts the most. And I'm sure that we all went through that, where we felt that we are not recognized or that we cannot give enough to people that actually are supporting us. And in my opinion, the last but not the least part is definitely to be supportive of any potential challenges and obstacles. To be also very upfront, I have frames, 9 of them, but I wouldn't say that I'm the smartest guy in the room ever. I also choose purposely to be the most stupid, because it means that I have great people around me. But what I can definitely commit, if I don't know how to help you, I will find a way to help you. Of course, I have some experience, and people can leverage on that. But on the other side, it's very important to let people know that they have a safe ground where they can land, share their problem, and then we can figure out the solution together. So, engage our people, because we need people, and we learn from each other. And if we have good people around us, then we are able to create better processes. People also like growth. We all want to grow. And I think that actually breathing the same air helps us also to grow together. So in that sense, before I say official thanks, I would just like to say that in my case, this whole presentation is really based on a unique team of Kadri, Kate, Emmanuel, Hauja, Jonas, Anton, and Mauricio. And without them, I wouldn't have nothing to talk about. So in that sense, thanks to you guys. And thank you, everyone, for your attendance. And if you have any questions, let me know. Let's reach out, and let's talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Faris. I do have one question lined up for you. So Vaido asks, how do you deal with a goal setting and giving feedback when your team has very diverse backgrounds and their perception varies greatly? Can you bring examples from your work?
Definitely. That's a very good question. And I would say that me, when I became a manager, I actually have realized that giving a feedback is the most important part, because how someone gives feedback to me actually depends how I will react in the future. So for example, if I get feedback, oh, this is bad, most likely it will not touch me. So in that sense, what I have done, I joined the Toastmasters. For everyone who doesn't know, Toastmasters International is International Public Speaking Club. But one part of that is actually evaluation speech contest, where you have to listen to a speech of 6 minutes, and you're obliged to provide feedback in 2.3 minutes on how the speech was delivered properly and what can be improved. However, I avoid to say improved, because it's very subjective in certain terms. So I'd rather say actually how we can empower or challenge your speech.
Okay.
So luckily, I won some prizes and awards in that case. So if I have to come to the example, it was an example from a couple of days ago where my BDR was very independent, and he said, OK, I will send this presentation by myself. And actually, he proposed Middle East to the merchant who has no traffic in Middle East. So basically, he opened the presentation. We went through the slides. I asked him, why did you offer Middle East? Any specific reason? He was like, well, you know, it's a good market. I was like, but where do you find information about Middle East where we can actually find where they have a traffic there? Then he said, well, I haven't found anywhere. And I was like, oh, I got it.
Okay.
So this is one very short example.
Yes. And actually another question came in. How do you see sales being developed in the future? Are there any interesting practices you can do in sales process to sell more besides LinkedIn and the cold calling?
Oh, that's also a good question. Well, I think it's actually very interesting, because when I started 8 years ago, I was, one-man show, and as the majority of us, but now we have very clear BDRs and BDMs roles. I definitely think that video messaging will apparently grow very quickly and fastly, because many companies are relying on that part as well. I see that cold calling is getting a little bit in the back due to the old things that happened to us. I think that LinkedIn is definitely tool #1 to reach out, and personalization is the key. And I think the greatest challenge right now is actually how to automate personal communication, which we are also struggling with, but I think that we're actually on the right way. So if I have to talk about the trends, then I would definitely rely on the video messaging.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Faris. Let's give it up for Faris. Thank you. Thank you.